Hello, welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let us begin with the headlines. President Park Geun-hye has vowed to support new sectors with growth potential, emphasizing that growth through entrepreneurship is the heart of her Creative Economy initiative. The 19th National Assembly begins its final parliamentary session with some contentious pending bills being blocked and new ones being proposed. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe draws heavy criticism by once again sending ritual offerings to the controversial Yasukuni war shrine, which honors war criminals, setting Korea-Japan relations back another step. To mark Korea's Science Day, President Park Geun-hye celebrated Korea's achievements in science and technology by meeting with top officials. She pointed out that deregulations and innovation as the key to helping the country make the next leap into the future. Song Ji-sun has our top story.
Growth through entrepreneurship has been the driving force behind President Park Geun-hye's initiative since her inauguration. Characterizing her creative economy drive as the only growth engine for the future, President Park renewed her vow to support new sectors with growth potential.
이를 위해 정부는 신기술, 신산업 창출과 성장을 가로막는 규제와 관행을 과감하게 철폐하고 개선해 나갈 것입니다. 여러분, 창조 경제가 성공하고 신기술, 신산업을 창출하기 위해서는 국가 R&D 시스템의 혁신이 있어야 합니다.
At a meeting of the Presidential Advisory Council on Science and Technology on Thursday, President Park called on the country's scientists to lead Korea's charge into the fourth industrial revolution. She asked them to help dream up new markets able to adapt to a fast-changing world and help the country create more jobs. The government also announced its plan to foster startups in the bio industry and transform carbon emissions into value-added chemical products as a way to reduce greenhouse gases, which is also part of its commitment to the Paris Climate Change Agreement. President Park is set to chair the first strategic meeting on science and technology next month, which is proposed as a way to improve distribution and management of Seoul's research and development resources. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Also, to commemorate Korea's Science Day, we are going to take a look at where the country stands in terms of the fourth industrial revolution and what it should do down the line to adapt. Kim Min-ji fills us in.
Vuno, a Korean company specializing in deep learning technology, is working with local hospitals to create a system to help doctors diagnose diseases more quickly and accurately. To do that, it's using artificial intelligence.
We collect medical images from hospital and we train our model, which is called deep learning model, with collected data. And then after training our model, when we feed new patients' medical image into the model, it automatically classify and segment the medical image into according to the disease.
This is just one of the ways AI can be incorporated into business models. In fact, AI is just one of the key technologies expected to lead the so-called fourth industrial revolution, along with 3D printers, robotics, the Internet of Things, and driverless cars. Simply put, it's bringing cutting-edge technologies into our daily lives, making everything faster and more convenient. But how ready is Korea to adapt? According to Swiss by QBS, Korea ranks 25th among 139 countries for adaptability, based on 5 categories including labor market flexibility, infrastructure, and technological ability.
In Korea, there are a lot of obstacles. First, there are strict regulations regarding data mining and storage. For instance, in order to obtain medical information, companies must first get permission from every patient. There are also restrictions regarding where the collected data can be stored.
On top of that, Korea falls short of global competitors when it comes to research and development of intelligence information technology. Google has invested some $30 billion into the field since the early 2000s, while Toyota has invested $1 billion. Last month, the Korean government vowed to invest about $1 billion over the next 5 years.
Globally, the development of AI is being led by corporations. As seen with Google's AlphaGo and IBM's Watson, it's all linked to how well it can be marketed. And the private sector has the upper hand.
Korea currently represents about 3% of the global intelligence information sector and is roughly 2.5 years behind the US in terms of tech development. Korea is also known for being a fast follower, but experts say that strategy won't work much longer, and its ability to break out of the mold will depend on how well it can mine and interpret vast amounts of data. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
To not be a fast follower to get with the times, Korea is gearing up to make some aggressive changes to the corporate landscape, with job losses looking inevitable in the process. The finance minister has also pledged stronger social welfare services. Hwang Ji-hye reports.
1 out of 4 listed companies in Korea are unable to cover interest payments on their debt with their operating profits. These firms are called zombie companies that manage to stay afloat on cheap state loans. What's more alarming is that many of them are the country's major players in the industries of shipbuilding, steel, as well as shipping that had over the decades led Korea's exponential economic growth. But along with their sagging performance, Korea's exports have dropped for over a year, stoking concerns that the country might fall into a continual cycle of low growth.
Growth in the 2% range is what you see in advanced economies like the US. If Korea's pace of expansion dips to that level, it will never be able to close the gap on those countries. That's why we need a growth rate of at least 3%.
But with most institutions at home and abroad expecting Korea to fall short of its 3% range target, calls are growing for the government to take further action. Finance Minister Yoo Il-ho, in contrast to his predecessor Choi Kyung-hwan, has pledged to boost investment and create jobs by improving conditions on the supply side. The government will go over plans to promote mergers and acquisitions among large companies, while the Financial Services Commission has expanded the list of firms it will examine to determine if they're in need of a shakeup. Concrete plans for corporate restructuring will be introduced as early as next week. Pundits do not expect the task to be easy, especially with the country's labor unions widely expected to oppose the inevitable job losses in the process. On that, Minister Yoo says the government will look into separate measures to shore up the social safety net and strengthen communication with the opposition parties. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Korea's National Assembly has kicked off a month-long parliamentary session to deal with a slew of pending bills. With the general election held just last week, this is the final parliamentary session of the 19th National Assembly. Kim Young-gil has the latest from the domestic political realm.
The ruling Saenuri Party, which suffered a crushing loss in last Wednesday's poll, is attempting to push through its 4 labor reform bills, a service industry promotion bill, and an anti-cyber terrorism bill. However, the chance of the bills passing is pretty slim, given the long-standing objections of the newly emboldened opposition bloc, composed of the main opposition Minju Party of Korea and the minor People's Party. Instead, the Minju Party has proposed its own set of economic bills, while the People's Party proposed the formation of a special parliamentary committee on job creation. Therefore, the 3 parties will likely focus more on getting 93 non-contentious bills passed that are sitting idle in the Assembly's Judiciary Committee. The deputy floor leaders of the 3 parties are slated to meet next Wednesday for working-level talks to set the parliamentary schedule. They've already agreed on having 2 plenary sessions next month to vote on the bills. A major point of contention is who should take the soon-to-be vacant National Assembly Speaker's position. The Minju Party says it should hold the position since it will be the biggest party in the next National Assembly. The People's Party, which is seeking to take one of the deputy speaker positions, agrees. As might be expected, the Saenuri Party has expressed reservations about the idea. The new speaker will start work on May 30th when the 20th National Assembly begins. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
South Korea's 6-party talks representative will meet his Chinese counterpart in Beijing Friday amid rising concerns North Korea is planning yet another nuclear test. Obviously, there's a lot of attention on Pyongyang's foreign minister, who is currently in New York on a rare visit. Kwon So-hwa has the full story.
South Korea's top nuclear chief Kim Hong-gyun and his Chinese counterpart Wu Da-wei are planning to hold talks in Beijing on Friday. The current situation on the Korean peninsula, the implementation of UN Security Council sanctions on North Korea, and deterring the regime from further provocations are top issues expected to be on the agenda. Seoul's foreign ministry said Thursday as South Korea-China talks will come just a day after bilateral talks between the U.S. and China. These talks will contribute to increased trilateral cooperation between Seoul, Washington, and Beijing on the North Korea nuclear issue. In the meantime, North Korea's Foreign Minister Lee Soo-yong arrived in New York to attend a signing ceremony at the UN headquarters Friday on the Paris Climate Change Agreement and to take part in the high-level thematic debate on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, where the official may be making remarks. There is no word yet on whether he will meet with UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon or whether he will meet with his U.S. counterpart John Kerry. Washington so far denied talks are planned. This trip comes amid mounting concerns Pyongyang may conduct another nuclear test anytime soon.
South Korea and the US are closely observing the possibility of any additional provocations from North Korea, and we are continuously sending out strong messages on the matter.
According to 38 North, a website specializing in North Korean matters, satellite imagery from April 19th shows vehicles and equipment moving around the entrances and main support area of Pyongyang's nuclear test site, which may indicate possible preparations for a fifth nuclear test. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
A recent report by the Wall Street Journal lists the cultural exports that North Korea relies on to bring in much-needed revenue. That includes a chain of state-run restaurants, including the one that saw 13 of its workers defect to the south recently. And CNN has new reporting on that as well. Park Ji-won has the details.
North Korea is expanding and diversifying its cultural exports. In a report dated Wednesday, the Wall Street Journal said the products and services provide the cash-strapped regime with a way to earn money directly from countries around the world. One of the more unusual enterprises is monument building. North Korea's Mansudae Studio, known for its Soviet-style monuments and statues, has already installed several gigantic monuments in many African countries, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, Angola, and Ethiopia. On top of that, it has also built large-scale museums in Cambodia and Syria. Established in 1959, the studio reportedly employs roughly 4,000 workers. Food is another successful cultural export. North Korea has a chain of restaurants in about 20 countries worldwide, including China, Nepal, and the United Arab Emirates. According to the Wall Street Journal report, each restaurant provides Pyongyang with approximately $100,000 to $300,000 a year. In recent weeks, media reports have said the restaurants are suffering under the latest sanctions on the regime for its nuclear and missile provocations. And recently, 13 North Koreans from a restaurant in China defected to South Korea, lending weight to the reports. In a report on Thursday, CNN carried an exclusive interview with 7 of the defectors' co-workers in Pyongyang. They claimed that their co-workers had been tricked by the restaurant manager and a South Korean businessman who had coordinated the trip with the South Korean government. In response, the South Korean Unification Ministry issued a statement saying the 13 had made their own decision and the South Korean government accepted them based on humanitarian grounds. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
And in related news, a spokesman for the North Korean Red Cross said today that South Korea had abducted the restaurant workers and is keeping them from their families in North Korea. It said the North is ready to send the workers' family to Panmunjom or even to Seoul if necessary, so they can reunite with those who were, according to them, taken. Moving on to other stories, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has once again angered Korea and China by sending an offering to the controversial Yasukuni war shrine, which honors war criminals. Korea's foreign ministry quickly expressed Seoul's discontent over such blunt actions. For more on the reactions, we turn to Lee Ji-won.
The Korean Ministry of Foreign Affairs criticized Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe for sending a ritual offering to the controversial Yasukuni shrine on Thursday. The The Yasukuni shrine honors Japan's war dead, including several Class A war criminals. Abe's tribute came to mark an annual spring festival taking place at the war shrine in Tokyo.
Our government cannot help but express concern that Prime Minister Abe has once again honored colonization and invasion by paying tribute to war criminals. The Japanese government will have to squarely face history and show its sincere apology through its actions in order to actively work to improve Korea-Japan ties.
Korea, China, and the international community slammed Abe for honoring war criminals at the shrine in December of 2013, but he has been continuously sending ritual offerings every spring and fall since he was re-elected as prime minister in December of 2012. Seoul and Tokyo have been striving to improve their relationship amid various thorny issues, including Japan's territorial claims over Korea's Dokdo Island. But the Abe administration has repeatedly raised questions regarding Japan's sincerity over its past wrongdoings. 이지원, Arirang News.
The death toll from Saturday's devastating quake in Ecuador has risen to more than 570, and making matters worse, another aftershock rattled the country last night. The damage caused could deal a severe blow to the nation's economic growth as well. Kim Hye-sung has the latest from the quake-hit nation.
Over 400 aftershocks have rattled Ecuador since the earthquake first hit the country last Saturday, inflicting damages that the Ecuadorian government estimates will cost roughly $3 billion. The president of the disaster-hit country announced a series of measures on Wednesday to fund the reconstruction of homes, roads, and buildings.
We will obviously have to take temporary measures faced with the magnitude and unexpected nature of this expenditure. We are looking at the possibility of issuing bonds in the international market.
The country announced a series of short-term tax hikes, including a 2-point increase in the value-added tax for the next year and selling national assets. Wednesday morning's tremor was centered offshore, 70 kilometers from the town of Esmeralda, which lies north of the original quake's epicenter. The powerful aftershock came as Ecuadorians began burying loved ones and hopes faded that more survivors will be found. Global aid organizations are rushing in to send support to the South American country. The World Food Program is sending supplies, and the UN Refugee Agency is preparing to send temporary shelters. A dozen countries are also involved in the relief effort. The Korean government said Wednesday that it would send $700,000 worth of humanitarian aid to the hardest hit areas. Kim Hye-sung, Arirang News.
Korean shares closed higher on Thursday, with a benchmark KOSPI gaining 16.27 points to rise to the highest closing levels of the year, 2022.1. The 0.81% spike comes on the back of increased net buying by foreign and institutional investors. One of the companies listed on the KOSPI that reaped great benefits is POSCO. The Korean steel giant reported its first quarter earnings grew 5.2% on year thanks to rebounds in steel and other areas. Their net income came to $311.1 million in the January-March period, though POSCO suffered a marked setback last year, mainly due to intensifying competition and a supply glut sparked by cheap-priced products from China. Relative rebound in market conditions in its steel and trading business more than offset its weak performance. That's all from us. Thank you for watching.